everybody.
Hey, hope everyone had a happy holidays, Merry Christmas,
Yeah.
and I know we enjoyed ours, so hopefully you all did too.
So yeah, at the time of recording, it's 2 days after Christmas is when we're recording this. So
Yep,
don't know when you're watching. So if you're new here, we're the Blues, and we go to Disney.
we do go to Disney,
So this video is about whether or not you should stay on property or off property.
right? And we are guest starring Oliver Paul
Yeah.
today.
And just off camera is our other dog Ella, but you can't see her. She's relaxing at the moment.
If you hear snoring, it's Ella.
It's Ella. So, Lindsay,
Hmm.
if you had to choose between staying on Disney property or staying off Disney property, what would you choose?
I would always stay on Disney property.
Okay. And why is that?
Just the convenience, but also the magic of being in the Disney bubble. You know, the first time we went to Disney, we did not stay on property, we stayed off property, and it was a finances situation. And didn't really think it would make that much of a difference. And then our next trip, we were like, okay, people talk about the Disney bubble
Yeah.
and the Disney magic. So let's see if we can swing a value resort and stay on property and see what it's like. And since that happened, we definitely I prefer staying on property because there is something special about being just on Disney property, and then you don't have to worry about transportation that's taken care of. Yeah, it's a really good time. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree. And I've mentioned in a previous video, I'm part of some Disney groups on Facebook, and this is, of course, another hot topic. People say that, oh, you have to, you absolutely have to, otherwise, you're not getting the full experience, and you're just not. It's not a good vacation unless you do it. And then others are, the complete opposite. Oh yes, stay off property, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter at all. So it comes down to it's really up to you. But
Right.
yes, our preference is to stay on property. It just makes the vacation that much more special.
It
But of
does.
course, if you can't stay on property or you just don't want to, of course you can still have a great vacation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make or break your vacation. It just adds to us. It adds a little bit more to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you have to keep in mind that staying on property is going to be more expensive,
yes,
but you also have to balance, are you driving to the parks if you're staying off property? Are you driving or are you Ubering?
right,
Those are extra costs. If you're not staying on property, you have to pay to park at each of the parks.
correct.
And then if you don't want to drive your car over to the parks and you just want to get dropped off by Uber, well, that can range you anywhere from $20 to $50
Depending on, yeah.
per ride.
And there are Disney Good Neighbor hotels
Mhm.
that, and they do have uh, transportation to the parks. However, the one we stayed at, which we can't remember what it was, but it was something like a Hampton Inn and
Mhm.
Suites, that kind of hotel. And it was a fine hotel. We enjoyed it, but they had like one bus that would take you to the Disney parks, and how often that came around, I don't know, but I bet it was quite a wait.
And I remember you had to call the night before to make your
That's right.
reservation to even get on their bus to take you to Disney. So if it was full, you were out of luck.
Right. So, and I'm sure like different good neighbor hotels, and if you don't know what that means, I guess we'll explain
Yeah.
that. So, these are hotels that are not owned by Disney. However, they are kind of, I guess, recognized by Disney, I guess is a way to put it. And so there's some perks to staying at a good neighbor hotel. Different ones have different things. It's nothing major. Mainly it's transportation, or sometimes you can get some early access to a park. But yeah, that's what a good neighbor hotel is.
And you definitely need to do your research because our hotel we stayed at on our first trip was supposed to have been a good neighbor hotel, but then when we got there, we didn't get the early theme park entry or the
Yeah.
other perks. So just because it says it's good neighbor, you need to look into it and see what perks are actually offered at that hotel.
Yeah. So I guess the pros and cons. The pros
Mhm.
and cons. The big con of staying on property is the cost,
Mm-hmm.
because Disney's cheapest hotel, you're still paying almost double what you would staying off property at just kind of a mid
Mm-hmm.
range hotel. That's the big con.
Mm-hmm.
It does cost more.
Right. And I would say that another con is the rooms can be kind of small.
True.
So if you have a big group, if you are a party of four or more, those rooms could get pretty cramped.
Yeah.
And then you have to look into, do you need a suite? Can you even afford a suite just out on Disney property? Um, what are your needs as a family? Because they're not going to have microwaves in the rooms. You're going to have a beverage cooler, not a refrigerator. You're going to have, unless you stay at, what is it? I think it's All Star Music.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That
Yeah.
they have family suites that do have a few more amenities, but they're still expensive. They're still like $400 or $500 a night.
Right, but they do sleep like 6 people or
Yeah.
something like that.
So you can find some suites, but it's going to cost you more,
Yeah.
like we already said. But there's just that part of it, but also there's the, if all you can afford is a value resort, you have to look at, that's where a lot of school groups are going to be staying.
Right.
When they're having whatever competition or event, and so you have to deal with the noise from them, which we didn't really have that much of an issue.
Right. Yeah. So that's another complaint people have said, the noise, like you can hear everything.
Mhm.
And our first time staying on property was at All Star Movies,
Mm-hmm.
and there was I think several groups.
Mhm.
Like there was a choir group, band group, there for competitions or something, and so there's a lot of teenagers running around.
Mhm.
But noise was never an issue.
Right.
It didn't. If there was, it didn't bother us. We didn't notice it, but
Mhm.
it seemed very quiet. Um, and then also our second time staying off property or on property, sorry, was at Pop Century, which that's our favorite now.
Mhm. It is.
Still had groups, not as many,
Mhm.
but there was definitely one group there,
Mhm.
and same thing. Noise level was no issue,
Right.
really. So
And you have to decide, like, you need to know that when it comes to being on Disney property, there are three different categories of hotels that you can stay at. You have your value hotels, you have your moderate hotels, and then you have your deluxe hotels.
yeah,
We can barely swing the value.
yeah,
We're never gonna be, Pop Century is still considered a value. I would say it's kind of a step up, upper
yeah.
end value.
There you go. Yeah, upper value resort.
Yeah, an upper value resort.
Yeah.
But so that. Those were the cons. Some of the cons. Can you think of any other cons, or do we want to do a quick pro?
Well, um, I think we covered all the cons, but I do want to go back to the space,
Mhm.
because yes, that is a con. But if you're just staying at a hotel just to sleep, not really to hang out
Mhm.
and enjoy a resort day kind of thing, then I mean the space doesn't matter.
Mhm.
And there is a story of people uh, booking the deluxe resorts, and then they never see their hotel because
Mhm.
they're constantly going to the parks and doing other things. And it's like, yeah, you've paid all that money, but you're not enjoying that deluxe
Right.
grand resort.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's also something to think about. What are you going to use that hotel for, other than sleeping, of course?
Mhm.
So
Um, I guess when you want to look at the pros,
Hmm.
transportation is a big pro.
Yeah.
But there are certain hotels that have certain transportation
Hmm.
that make it a little bit better. If you're staying at your value resort, so this could be a pro and a con.
Can be.
It can be a pro and a con. If you're staying at a value resort, you're only going to have buses to take you to and from the parks, which is fine. There's a bus schedule. It lets you know when they're coming around. I want to say it's like every 15 minutes or something
no
like
more
that.
than every 30.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to say it's like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Don't write it in stone.
Yeah.
We could be wrong, but I don't remember having to wait that long
Yeah.
when we did stay at the value, the All-Star Movies. But when you stay at, for instance, Pop Century or Art of Animation, which are still in that value group, but they're that higher end value, if you want to call it that.
The upper value.
The upper value. You get Skyliner access, and that's going to give you access to come and go as you please between Hollywood Studios and the hotel, and also Epcot and the hotel. So it's just a really, really quick, easy way just to hop over to a park and hop back, which is super convenient. And that's one of the things we like most about staying at Pop Century is having that Skyliner access.
Some of the moderates and maybe even deluxe have boats that run to certain parks.
Yeah. So all of your hotels are going to have bus transportation when you're on the Disney property.
Right. Just to different places.
Yeah.
Since Pop and Art of Animation have the Skyliner to Epcot and Hollywood Studios, they typically don't have buses that run to Epcot and Hollywood, just Magic Kingdom and Disney Springs.
And Animal Kingdom.
And Animal Kingdom, yes.
Yeah.
So
you just need to do your research on what kind of transportation is going to be offered. Like, I know if you stay at a moderate or some of the moderates and some of the deluxe hotels have monorail access.
That's true, yeah.
So it really just depends, but it's going to be a combination of different types of transportation offered, but just know that you will have transportation available to you. And if for some reason the Skyliner goes down, if you're staying at a Skyliner resort like Art of Animation or Pop Century, if that goes down for any reason or inclement weather or anything like that, they will then provide buses to get you to and from.
Right.
They're not going to leave you stranded. But yeah, that's a big pro, and that's one of the things we like most. Sorry, Ella's having a bad dream. It's okay, Ella. But yeah, that's definitely a pro. I would say also, one of the things is being able to easily get back to your hotel midday if you need to take a nap, if you have kids that need to rest, if you need to rest, what have you. You know, you can pretty easily just get back and forth between those places, and that's a big one for me because I'm an afternoon napper. So
yeah, and I would say also, even if you drive your own car and you're staying on property, you get free parking at the parks, which is great. Otherwise, I don't know what parking costs. We've never had to pay for it, but I'm sure it's not cheap, and so it's probably not something you'd want to keep coming back and forth to the park in one day. So.
And also on transportation, if you're staying on property, you do get the option to use the minivan service that is powered by Lyft. Whereas if you're not staying on property, then you don't get to use minivans.
Right.
And minivans are Disney transportation. It's just like the Lyft service, only it's specifically for Disney.
Yeah.
So it's a ride share, but it's a more expensive ride share.
It is. It's gonna cost you at least $50.
Yeah.
At least.
But they have things like they provide like car seats for your kids and things of that nature. It's driven by Disney cast members. It It'll take you to some closer drop off points than just like transportation and ticket center. But that is another thing on transportation. If you are staying on Disney property, you can't use that.
Right. All right. So staying off property. We've already talked about the big pro. It was a con on Disney property, but the cost. I mean, you're going to save money by staying off property,
Right.
for sure, unless you're booking a very high end hotel. But yeah, normally if you're just staying in a mid range kind of hotel, you're going to save quite a bit of money by staying off property.
And then you're going to save money, like if a breakfast is provided with your
Right.
hotel stay, that's going to save you money. Things of that nature. You have to look into the amenities and what's being offered there. Um, let's see. We're
Yeah,
so pro staying on
we are.
property now.
Yeah, we're a little snobbish maybe towards
Maybe
it,
just a little bit.
but I mean, it really is up to you. Do your research. You know, you know your budget. We don't know your budget.
Right.
If you can only afford to stay off property, that's perfectly fine. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. If you can afford to stay on property, we highly recommend it. Even staying at the value resorts, and there's even people snobbier than us who say no, don't stay at the values. They're trash. You got to stay at the moderate or deluxe, and it's like, well, that's easy to say.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford it, you can't afford it.
And they're nice rooms,
They
even
are.
at the
They're fine.
the value resorts have been remodeled. Excuse me.
Hello.
The value resorts have been remodeled, refurbished, and they're totally fine. They're clean. They're everything that you need. They're a little small, but it's what you need. If you just plan on sleeping there, not completely hanging out all day, not necessarily doing a resort day, then they're perfectly fine.
Yeah. So we, as I mentioned, we stepped up to Pop Century, but I would, if we needed to go back to All Star Movies, that would be fine with me. Or I think the cheapest Disney hotel is All Star Sports.
And the con I will give you for that one is because it is the cheapest, that's the one school groups usually book at.
Yes. But if that's all we could afford to do, then I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're nice rooms.
And I wouldn't let where you stay keep you from going.
Yeah.
If we had to stay off property again, we would do it. If that's just the way that the budget worked out, we would prefer to stay on property, but we'd stay off property again if we had to. That's not a big deal. Another pro of staying on property, or a pro, like we mentioned earlier, of staying at a good neighbor hotel is going to be early theme park entry. And that's where you get to rope drop or enter the parks 30 minutes before the official opening time. And for a while, that was one of the major pros for staying on property. And then they opened it up to some of the good neighbor hotels too. So if you can't stay on property, look into which good neighbor hotels offer that, so you can have that. If you can't afford to stay at a deluxe hotel on Disney property, there are certain days that you can get extended evening hours where it's like 1 or 2 hours later than after the park closes type situation that you can have access. But like I said, that comes with a hefty price tag. If you can afford it, that's great. If not, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And again, that's only for certain hotels. That's not any Disney hotel. That's only the high end. So.
And then I would say that just your overall theming when you're staying on property is a lot better. It's a lot more immersive. It's a lot easier to go resort hopping. Where you get to visit all the different resorts when you're staying in the Disney bubble. You also, one of the things that you can't do, or at least at the last time we went last year, you still had to have a dining reservation to go to that resort.
Right. If you're driving or taking a ride share to a another resort,
Mm-hmm.
if you're using Disney transportation, you're able to
Yeah.
go.
So you can't really resort hop if you're not staying on property,
Right. Yeah.
or it would be very difficult because you would need that reservation to get in. Because trust me, they check those IDs when
Yeah.
you when your ride share is taking you or you're driving to go to that resort for your dining reservation. The security booth, they're going to want to know why you're there. They're going to need your
Yeah.
ID. They check them very closely.
Yeah. Yeah. When we checked into Pop Century this last time, and we had a reservation and everything, had to get my ID out so our Uber could get on property, and the guy really looked it over.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get safety, but
Right.
I mean he was really taking it seriously.
He was a stickler, let me
Yeah.
tell you.
So
But yeah, so that's another thing is you can go resort hopping and have access to those different areas a lot easier. Um, let's see what else about staying on or off property. What do you think we should share?
well, so staying off property, you already kind of mentioned this. Those hotels typically have a continental breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
There's even one, I can't remember the name of it, but they offer free meals throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just there's one hotel, I
Mm-hmm.
can't think of the name of it. Disney does not offer any
Right.
free meals or really free snacks or anything like that. So that's a big pro for staying off
Mm-hmm.
property. You might get at least one free meal,
Right.
continental breakfast. So yeah, there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I don't know. That's all I can think of.
That's all I can think of too. And I will say for our upcoming stay, um, spring break 2025,
Mm-hmm.
we will be staying on property again. And yeah, I just thoroughly enjoy staying on property.
Yep, and we're staying at Pop Century again.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you can, when you are staying on property, you can have the options of booking just a regular room or a preferred room,
mm-hmm.
where the preferred rooms are going to put you closer to the transportation or the lobby and food court areas. Um, Sometimes you can get both, closer access to both. Sometimes you have to pick and choose which one you want closer access to. But yeah, you have the option of paying extra to get those rooms closer to those amenities.
Yeah. And I guess another con on staying on property, speaking of preferred rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So we stayed, when we stayed at Pop this previous time, we had a preferred pool view room.
Mm-hmm.
And there was more noise with that.
Yeah.
And we did notice it, but it wasn't like a deal breaker or anything.
Right.
It was in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so much of a bother, but I've seen videos and I've also read posts online where people thought it was a huge problem and it
mm-hmm.
was a deal breaker. They wanted to switch rooms. So just be aware of that. If you do get a preferred pool view room,
mm-hmm.
there might be some extra noise that you'll hear throughout the day.
And I will say the reason we went with that preferred pool view was because it was closer to the Skyliner.
Yep.
And since I have to use a scooter in the park, I needed, due to my back issues, I needed something that was a quicker walk to get from the transportation back to the hotel and vice versa. So that pool view room was the closest to the Skyliner that we could get.
Yeah. And
so
it was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah.
So just take into consideration all your needs. I don't know if you have any accessibility needs or anything like that, like I do, but take that into consideration and know that, like we said, it's a pro and a con,
mm-hmm.
Having that option of preferred rooms. And like I said, you do have to pay extra. I think it wasn't a lot extra for us, was it?
No, I want to say, and I could be wrong, but I want to say it was just a difference of maybe $50 at most.
Hmm.
But I could be wrong on that. But it wasn't astronomical. I know it wasn't like $100,
Right.
but it might have been more than 50. But I
Hmm.
want to say it was 50. So.
Yeah, so you just have to take into consideration what you're wanting out of your stay. Are you going to want resort days where you're just hanging out at your hotel, enjoying the amenities? If that's the case, maybe you want to splurge on a pricier hotel. If you want to just have a clean place to sleep, you look at your value hotels or even off property hotels to save some money. So it's really just dependent on what your needs are for a couple with no children like us. If you can afford to stay on property,
Yeah.
I would recommend it. But if you have a big family and you need a bigger suite, you might look into staying off property at one of the good neighbor hotels or even an Airbnb to get what you need for that.
Right.
So yeah, it's just really your preference and what your needs are. Um, Anything you want to add?
No, as we mentioned, I think in our last video talking about travel agents,
Mm-hmm.
this is your vacation, and don't let anyone tell you what your needs are. You know what they are. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, you can always ask for suggestions, ask for advice, but ultimately, it's up to you, and let it be your vacation.
Yeah.
And so, if staying off property is all you can do, or all you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you just want to do that.
Right.
That's perfectly fine, or staying on property is perfectly fine at any of the resorts. So
Yeah.
there you go.
All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys. Our next video will be coming out hopefully before the end of January.
Yeah. Sure.
I will add that we are, as of today, 76 days away from our trip.
Yeah.
We are super, super excited. For a little while, I wasn't as excited because I had a really busy fall with work and travel for that. And then now that that's finally slowed down, I am getting very excited again because I can actually think about going to Disney. So, yeah, super excited about that. Can't wait to get there. And we will keep you guys informed. I don't know if our next video is going to be over possibly our shopping list.
Yeah.
I know we've already done the packing list.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it might be our shopping list and our itinerary for our upcoming trip. Because then by the time we record it, we'll be under 60 days probably.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And we might even talk about dining reservations and not park pass reservations anymore.
Yeah.
Let's not, God forbid, those park pass reservations. Yeah. Yeah, about I can speak English. I can talk. It's fine.
I don't know what you're trying to say, or I'd help you. So dining reservations,
lightning lane. There
okay.
We go. Multi-pass or whatever you want to use. So we'll talk a little bit about that maybe. So there's a few different options for the next video. If there are questions that you guys have or something you want us to talk about, put it in the comments. Let us know. We're glad to talk about it. And yeah, I hope you guys have had a happy holiday season and a very Merry Christmas. And yeah, hope you have a blessed new year.
Okay.
So we will talk to you guys later.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.